Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to all of you in history session of prelims exclusive program. As far as history is concerned, it is seen to be one of the most dreaded subjects by the students. Many of the students find it very boring, many of the students find it very lengthy, and almost all the students find it very factual. A point is that the fact that it is a factual subject, I cannot change this fact. But what I'll try to do is I'll try to make history interesting for you somehow. Now again, the way we discussed in geography, in history also, the syllabus is extremely vast. It is very difficult for any teacher to finish the subject in 10 to 15 classes, but I'll have to do that. So I'll be assuming that there are certain topics which you know about, and despite assuming that, I'll try to cover as many topics as possible, and I'll try to create a proper chronology in your head so that once you will look at the questions, you will be able to solve them. As far as facts and details are concerned, I'll try to be as detailed as possible with the topics that I'll be teaching. Also, there is no need to make a lot of notes here. There is no need to pause the video, make notes for everything that I'm saying. There is no need of that, because anyway you are getting the PPTs, first of all. Second of all, that you might be having certain notes, you might be having certain books with you already, and since I am assuming that you have given one reading already, whatever I'm teaching you, if you are able to find something new, only try to add that new thing to your notes. If you find a fact that okay, this is something which we did not know, or this is a line of thought which we never thought of, those are the things that you'll have to write in your notes. Apart from that, there is no need to write or scribble everything that I'm saying, because then you will end up writing your own book. Okay, you will become a historian, you will write your own book. Okay, now the point is that history is one subject where people just think that they have to mug it up and perform in the exam. For some people that works also, but as a teacher, it is also my responsibility to tell you how to study history, because if you don't know how to approach a subject, you will never like it. Okay, history is like a story. Okay, naam mein hi story hai uske, theek hai, history is like a story. So you need to understand the history in terms of a timeline, in terms of story, and with that story you will be getting different characters with different times. The age will change, the storyline will change, the conclusions, you'll arrive to certain conclusions at every single point of time in history. So you need to remember those conclusions. You need to think about all the actors which are there playing their part in different part of the history, and you need to relate to history. Okay, for example, the best way to understand history is to assume that you are living in that era. Okay, for example, if I'm thinking about Indus Valley civilization, I assume that I have gone to Indus Valley civilization and I'm staying there. And if I'm staying there, what will I be eating? In what type of house will I be living? What will be my city? What will be its governance? What type of god will I be worshipping? What type of food will I be eating? What type of clothes will I be wearing? Okay, all those things, if in every era, if you start thinking in these lines, that you place yourself into that era, and accordingly you start thinking about yourself, accordingly you start thinking about the space around you, you will get a knack of history. Okay, chaliye. So this is our first lecture. We will be starting with ancient history. We will be going in proper chronology, so that you will be able to make sense of everything that is going on, and you will also be able to connect. I have seen that many students, they pick selective topics, that okay, I'll read this and I'll mug this up, and probably a question will come from here and I'll do it. See, if you are doing this for the first time, if you are reading a subject for the first time, selective pickings are not wise, because then you will not be able to make sense of anything. You will just end up mugging up things. So what is wise is, what is advisable is that you go through the chronology, you just have a basic idea of how the history is changing with time, and then from that you can pick some important topics, and those are the things which you will have to study in detail, right? All the topics, they are not important. Chaliye, first of all, we need to know that why is history put in the syllabus of UPSC? Why do you have to study history? Because there is this very famous statement of Einstein that history should not be taught in schools. schools should be a place where imagination should be taught, science should be taught, mathematics should be taught. If I want to know history, I can just pick up a book and open it and know what is written there. This is what Einstein said. But just because he was a genius, he was a great physicist, he was a great mathematician, does not mean whatever he has said is correct, right? There are some foolish statements made by very wise people also. Just because a wise person is saying something foolish, you shouldn't appreciate it. The point is that we need to know history. We need to know history because it is said that history repeats itself. There have been problems, there have been conflicts. What we need to know is not what the conflict was, but we need to know that what were the causes of that conflict. We need to know that what were the consequences of an event in history, so that if there was something good, we can repeat that good, and if there was something bad, we can avoid those bad things. We need to learn from history. Okay, but we keep repeating the same mistakes, and every time we make a mistake and we feel surprised. Arey, ye kaise ho gaya? This was not expected. Arey, why was this not expected? Haven't you studied history? Okay, so you must study history, not read it. You must study history. The reason why it has been kept in UPSC syllabus, you'll see that history is in a detailed syllabus is given in prelims, in GS1 paper for your this thing mains also. History is there in GS paper 1. Technically, history, geography and Indian society. History, geography and Indian society, they are kept in one paper, GS paper 1, as far as mains is concerned. The reason is that if you are preparing for this exam and you are preparing for this exam to get a very good rank, once you'll clear the exam, what will you be? You will become a bureaucrat. Bureaucrat is technically executive, okay, non-elected permanent executive. This non-elected permanent executive is a link between the government and the society, between the government and the public. So you, as a link, you will have to implement the policies of government over these people. And also, since you are a public servant, these people, they will be coming to you with their aspirations, and you will be a link between public and the elected government. So you are a link between the government and the public. You are talking about their aspirations to the government, elected government, and you are implementing the policies amongst those people, the people who are there, the public. Now, if you want to implement those policies, there should be some trust. People should trust you as an officer, and that trust only comes when you know this society. Okay, and how will you be able to know the society? Society is the culmination, is the result of geography and history. Okay, for example, if in Karnataka you will find people that people eat ragi, they eat ragi ball. Being a North Indian, it is very difficult for me to eat something that you have to swallow. Ragi ball, you have to pluck it and you have to swallow it. It's very difficult for me. But if I say that, look at this food, what kind of food are these people eating? That will not be right, because ragi is grown here. It is their staple crop, and that's why people are habitual in eating ragi. It's very healthy also. So I cannot come to a society with a prejudiced mind and think that, okay, this is what is right and this is what is wrong for this society, just because it is right and wrong in my society. Okay, so we need to be sensitive about society. So paper 1, it deals about legitimacy, what is accepted in society and what is not accepted in society. And that's why history and geography, they are clubbed with Indian society. And that's why you won't be getting any direct questions from history as far as mains is concerned. This is the reason why we need to understand history. Once we'll understand history, we'll be able to see how the society, the present day society, has been crafted. Okay, and that's why it is an important aspect of the UPSC exam. What is historiography then? Historiography is the art of writing history. So as a historian, when you are trying to write an event, you need to be absolutely neutral. Okay, so initially what happened was that Greeks started this writing. Okay. The art of history writing, it was started by Greeks. What these people used to do was, when a king used to move forward to fight a battle, to conquer new lands, he used to take 2 to 3 people who were writing that account. So there was one person who was writing the account of the event, that this king fought the other king, there were so many soldiers in one army, there were so many soldiers in another army, this army was equipped with so and so, the other army was equipped with so, and the battle, the war went for like a month or 2 months or 3 months, and then there was a siege, and so on and so forth. So there is one person who is writing about the event. There is another person who is writing about the space, that where exactly is this event taking place. Okay, so he will say that the battle was fought in a field. In the north of the field there was a mountain range, in the south there was a river going behind, there was a there was this plateau over which the clouds were looming, and the rainfall was so much, and because of the rain we were not able to fight, and all those things. So one person will be writing about the space. So you will see that as we'll move forward, these people, they are writing about the time and space of the same place. Initially this writing was done together, combined. Later it was decided that no, we need to study the timeline separately and we need to study the space separately. So time and space got separated. This timeline that was created, the chain of events with time, this was known as history. That's what we call history. And the space, the region, the description of a region, this became geography. Okay. So history and geography, they are sister subjects. That's why there are some people who can teach geography and history. Wow, kya baat hai, khair. So as far as history writing is concerned, you need to be absolutely neutral when you are writing about an event. A historian has to be neutral. But do you think history is neutral? Do you think while writing about an event you can be neutral? You cannot put in your prejudices. It's very difficult, because whoever is writing, that person is bound to provide his own thoughts about his own analysis of the event. So let's say if you are a court historian, you are in court of some king, you will have to write about the history. You cannot criticize that king that much, and that's why you will see that history is slightly biased. The contemporary history. So if a contemporary author is writing about something, it is bound to be biased, because let's say your king, you are a historian, your king is fighting, and your king won the battle. So you will be praising your king, that the king was extremely brave, the army fought valiantly, and there was a brilliant strategy of the king, and the other army was so huge. In order to talk about the win of your king, what you will do is, in order to exaggerate, you will increase the number of army of the enemy. That 1 lakh elephant and 2 lakh horses and itne phalane jo hai foot soldiers were there, and they were coming and they were fighting, and despite that my king defeated them. So this will be your idea of history. You will be writing this, you will be given some money, just in case your king will get defeated. But then still he is your king. You cannot write that the king was absolutely foolish, there was no strategy and he got defeated, or he was weak and the other king was strong. You cannot do that, because at the end of the day he is your king. So what will you do? The army of the king fought bravely. The king fought very bravely in the battlefield, but the other king was shrewd. He went against the rules of the battle. ठीक है, कुछ चाल चली उसने, कुछ षड्यंत्र रचा उसने, right? There was something wrong with his strategy, and that was the reason why he was able to defeat this king. So even though your king is defeated, he is still brave, and the other king, he is a coward. He using some other means, illegal means, he was able to win that battle. So this is how history is written when contemporary writers are writing about it. As historians, later when you are a historian, if you are reading about history, these are the biases which you need to identify and find what was the right history at that point of time. So history writing can be contemporary history writing, people who are writing about the event right there. For example, people are writing about events which are going on today. 100 years later, when students will be reading today's account, this will become history. Okay, chaliye. So in India, technically in ancient India, history writing was not there. History was not an art which got developed in India. In India, we had brilliant thinkers, brilliant philosophers, and most of the books that were written, they were written either on philosophy or on art, like a drama was written, epics were written, religious books were written, metaphysics was written, but history was not written. Events were not jotted down. And that's why it is very difficult to recreate Indian history. Okay, we don't really know the chronological order. So what we do is, we are dependent on these books, we are dependent on other events, on the archaeology, on coins, on other literary sources, and we try to reconstruct our history through those sources. Okay, chaliye. So most of the history in India, it was written by the Britishers. Once Britishers came to India in the 18th century, in order to rule over India, they started writing about Indian history. So the first history that was written, it was termed as the official history of the British government. Now Britishers, when they came to India, they wanted to legitimize their rule, and in order to legitimize their rule, they wanted to show that Indians in general, they are weak and they are meant to be ruled by outsiders. So they are uncivilized, they are unruly, they don't know how to rule over themselves. India is a land of snake charmers and tigers and mosquitoes, and people are not civilized. So it is the white man's burden to civilize them. This is how they used to say, that we have come to India because it is a white man's burden, because we are civilized, so we will have to make them civilized also. So they tried to show India in a really, really bad light, okay, at that point of time. Then there were independent European writers who actually analyzed what India was, and they praised India. They were inquisitive about India. They appreciated the culture of India. Then came Indian scholars. Indian scholars, after most of the Western educated Indians, when they came to India, they realized that the history which Britishers are writing, it's very biased. We need to write our own history. So they started praising India. Okay, they started writing good about India. Now in Indian historians also, two type of historians came. One were educated secular historians. They used to write, they used to praise India, but they also accepted that there were certain problems in Indian history. There were certain things which were not right. For example, untouchability. For example, sati, the idea of Johar. Those were the things which were not right. However, there were right-wing historians also, जिन्हें कुछ गलत दिखता ही नहीं था. They were like, India was great, India is absolutely great, whatever was there at that point of time, that was all right. Okay, and the modernism is something which is wrong. So there also, however, both the ultra-nationalist or the nationalist, they try to show India in a good light. So most of the history that we study now, they were reconstructed through these mechanisms, okay, a result of all these things. Then came the Marxist historians. Marxist historians, they did not look at history as a chronological order of kings. Marxist historians, they looked at the history as a timeline of conflict, that there has always been a conflict between the people who are holding the sources of production, who are ruling, who are oppressing, and the people who are being oppressed, who are being ruled over. So in ancient history, ancient period, it was divided between masters and slaves. So there were masters and there were slaves, and slaves had to do whatever masters wanted them to do. In the medieval period, they said that the society was divided between feudal lords and peasants. Feudal lords, people who are owning land, and peasants who are working in those lands. And in modern period, there is a fight between the capitalists and the workers, the bourgeois class and the proletariat class, right? So the bourgeois class, the industrial class, the capitalist class, it is holding the factors of production, and it is ruling over these people, the proletariats, the workers who are working under them, and the workers are always being exploited. Okay. Since it is not a lecture of sociology, I won't get into the details of this. Otherwise, we could have discussed this aspect as well. And then came the subaltern writers. Subaltern writers did not write history about the kings. They did not mention kings or the kingdoms. Subaltern writers started writing about the people. Because if you look at history, most of the time when you are reading about something, till now, you must have read about the kings, you must have read about the achievement of the kings, you must have read about what the king was eating, how the king was sleeping, or how many forts did he make? Have you ever studied about a common man? That what was the condition of common man? Now, most of the time, the condition of common man is shown on WhatsApp group these days, right? You are learning all your history from WhatsApp and social media now. That you get a message कि हाँ देखो इस king को, he was called great but कितना क्रूर राजा था, yeah? He was absolutely brutal, he killed. So, have you checked those facts? Right, 99.9% of these messages, they are fake. That history is fake. So please don't believe that. Please don't believe those messages. The moment you get it without reading, you first delete it. Okay, because once you put in the garbage in your head, then it becomes very difficult to take the garbage out. Okay, so don't allow that garbage to enter your head. Read good books. As an aspirant, it is your responsibility also to understand the history, because every time the history is distorted to create conflicts in the present society. Okay, and this is something which is not new. The same thing has been happening from ages, from years altogether. So we will be discussing about that aspect too. But these subaltern writers, they started writing about the common man. They started writing about the society, the administration, the economy of a region. Okay, the status of women, the status of children, about the trade. And this is what we are interested in. So now the angle through which we will be looking at history, it will be the subaltern angle. Okay, and UPSC is also asking questions on this aspect. Okay, UPSC is not asking question about the kings, that who was the son of so and so king. No, this question is not being asked. The question is being asked about the changes which a king has brought. What was the condition of women? What was a new innovation in the market and the administration? So those are the things that we will have to focus on. Okay, so this is all about the subaltern writers. Now, what are the sources to study ancient history? Ancient history is also known as ancient history. Okay, yeah, ancient history. You know, my history teacher used to call it ancient history. Why ancient history? Because we don't have the sources. It's not written anywhere. So whatever we know about ancient history, it has come from archaeological evidences, from some other evidences. So we have taken those evidences and we have tried to interpret. Okay, now those are our interpretations, scientific interpretations, rational interpretations. But what's the guarantee that they are right? What's the guarantee that they are correct? There is no guarantee. So there is a lot of confusion in ancient history, and that's why it is extremely important for you to understand that what are the sources to study ancient history. Okay, the most prominent source is the archaeological source. Okay, archaeological sources. What are archaeological sources? When you dig the land, you find some archaeological evidences, you find some constructions which were there earlier, and those are the archaeological sources. So most important sources are the ruins of the buildings and the cities. Okay, studied through the excavations. For example, after the excavations, we got to know about the pyramids of Egypt. The excavations are still going on. There are so many tombs which are now covered by the sand completely, and now we are trying to dig that sand. We are trying to remove the rocks and take those do those excavations so that we can bring out those structures and study about them. Now these excavations, there can be horizontal excavations or vertical excavation. What is a vertical excavation? So let's say this is a piece of land that you got for your excavation. Okay, Government of India gave you this piece of land, that okay, you are an archaeologist, please go and excavate. So you went to some depth and you realize that in one region there is some construction. Okay, then you will go deeper, then you will realize that in a previous era there was some other kind of construction over which a new construction has been done. Then again you will go deeper, so you will get to know about the older civilization. So as you are going deeper, you will get to know about the new civilizations. Okay, so it will construct a timeline for you, that at what time, what type of civilization, what type of people were living. This is called vertical excavation. So vertical excavation tells you about the timeline. Then there is horizontal excavation. For example, you figured out that in one layer you are having this unique civilization. Let's say 500 years back, this unique civilization was there. then in order to find the extent of civilization, you would want to dig up to that depth in other areas also. So you can study about this civilization, you can get the details about the civilization. That is what is called horizontal excavation. So horizontal excavation tells you about the extent of a civilization, that how far this civilization was spread. However, horizontal excavation is difficult as compared to vertical excavation. Why? Because in case of vertical excavation, you have already got the land. Now it totally depends on you that how deep you want to dig that hole, how much do you want to know about the history. But as far as horizontal excavation is concerned, you will have to acquire more land. But if you have to dig, you will have to acquire more land. Let's say your house is there and some historian is coming and he's saying that no, I want to dig this land. You will say, why? Is there any resource in my land? He'll say, no, there is no resource, but I just want to dig it to know about the history. Okay. So you will take your slipper out and chase him till this patch. Because now, right now, the land is useful to you. You are living there. You cannot share your land just because somebody else is inquisitive. कि वहाँ 100 साल पहले what was there? Right? You are not that inquisitive. That's not your need. Right now, your need is to live there. So it's very difficult to get to acquire land for the excavations. Okay, until and unless it is too important. So horizontal excavations are slightly difficult that way. Now there are other sources like pottery. In history, we will be discussing about pottery a lot. It tells about the local culture, because pottery was like the first scientific development, technological development, you can say. And the sophistication of pottery can tell you about the sophistication of the civilization. For example, if a pottery is designed very beautifully, okay, and beautiful designs are made, beautiful paintings are made, you will be able to understand that the society had aesthetic sense. If they have used geometrical designs, you will know that they had the idea of geometry, they had the idea of designs. Okay. On the other hand, if you find a pottery which is colorless, faded, it's weak, you will say that okay, the civilization was probably not that developed as far as technology is concerned. Also, a similar type of pottery is found in one civilization. So if you are finding same type of pottery in different regions, you will be able to identify that okay, the same civilization was up to this extent. Okay. So if the Indus Valley pottery is found in Sukta Gendhod, Balochistan, and if the same type of pottery is found in UP, you will be able to identify that okay, the extent was from Balochistan to UP, Indus Valley civilization. And that's why pottery becomes extremely important for us, the study of pottery. So this topic, the study of pottery, is exclusive to ancient history. Only in ancient history, in the earlier civilizations, we will be talking about it. Later, we won't be interested in this, because then we will be having different sources, proper sources, better sources to understand the civilization. Then graveyard and burial grounds, it tells about the faith of people, religious inclination of people. Then coins and seals. Coins and seals are also able to tell us about the extent. For example, if a king is minting one coin, and if you are finding that coin in a very large region, you will be able to say that the empire had the influence in this large region where the coins were being used. Also, coins tell us about the art and culture. They also tell us about the purity. The purity of coin tells us about the technological advancement, that how good were they in smelting the metal and minting those coins. So all those details are taken from coins. Then buildings, tools and weapons, fossils, all these things, they will be telling us about the ancient history. We will be studying all those things. The point is that an archaeologist is the one who is responsible for excavation. But an archaeologist does not interpret, he only excavates, he discovers, and then those discoveries are shown to a historian, and a historian tries to make a story out of this. He will try to make, bring logic to it. Then there are literary sources. Based on literary sources, history is divided into 3 types. Okay, we have got prehistory, proto-history and history. What is prehistory? Prehistory kya hota hai sahab? Prehistory is history where you are having the literary, where you don't have any literary source. Okay, writing was not invented back then. So that is what is called prehistory. So in order to understand about prehistory, only archaeological evidences will be there. cave paintings will be there. Then there is proto-history. Proto-history is the time period where the writing has been discovered. We have got the literary sources, but we have not deciphered that writing. We have not been able to understand what is written. For example, in case of India, Indus Valley civilization is a part of proto-history. We have got the script of Indus Valley, but we have not been able to decipher it yet. So we don't know what it is saying. On the other hand, if you go to some older civilizations like Egyptian civilization, Egyptian civilization is very old, much older than Indus Valley civilization. There, the language, the hieroglyphics which is written in the tombs, the hieroglyphics which has been used in pyramids, we have been able to decipher that. Now we can read it and interpret that whatever is written. That is part of history. So whether some place is in proto-history time period or a history time period or a prehistory time period, it really doesn't matter on the timeline. It matters on how much have we interpreted. And then we have got history. History is the time where you have got the literary sources also, and you have interpreted the language as well. Okay. Chaliye. Now look at just have a look at the periodization of Indian history. Ancient history की बात कर रहे हैं. This is how we are going to study in the same chronological order. So we look at the Stone Ages from 5 lakh to 1000 BC. The age is called the Stone Age. Then we have got this huge civilization, a very modern kind of a civilization at that point of time, much ahead of its time. The Indus Valley civilization, which extended from 2500 to 1750 BC. Then we see that there is Vedic culture starting from 1500 BC to 600 BC. Then Jainism and Buddhism, they come the era of Jainism and Buddhism. Then comes the time period of Mahajanapadas. So we will be studying about Mahajanapadas before Mauryas, and then we will be talking about Mauryan Empire, which was the first great empire in India according to history. Okay. Then we have smaller post-Mauryan empire, post-modern history, which extends from 2nd to 3rd century AD. Then again we will be having a great empire called Gupta period, right? It extends for almost 2 centuries. So 4th to 6th century AD, we will be having this Gupta period. After that, there will be the era of Harshvardhan, okay, one of the greatest king who controlled over a large area, 7th century AD. And in this, we will also be talking about the Sangam literature and early South Indian civilizations, early South Indian kingdoms as part of Sangam literature. So this is what is the timeline of ancient history. Broadly, this is what is there in your syllabus. This is what we have to cover. Now just have a look at the previous year questions. There is no need to solve them. I just want to show these questions to you so that you can understand that what type of questions have been asked by UPSC. Okay. Until and unless you look at the questions, you will not be able to understand the approach towards the subject. Okay. You must have seen many students, aspirants who you think that they have got a lot of knowledge, but they have not been able to qualify the exam. Okay. And then you think, yaar, kyun nahi ho raha hai inka? The only reason is that they have not been able to study according to the demand of the paper. Okay. So demand of the paper can only be seen through the questions. Look at this question. The Jain philosophy holds that the world is created and maintained by universal law, universal truth, universal faith, universal soul. Okay. A very direct question from Jain philosophy. With reference to the history of ancient India, which of the following was and were common to both Buddhism and Jainism? One more question from Buddhism and Jainism. Lord Buddha's image is sometimes shown with the hand gesture called Bhumi Sparsh Mudra. Bhumi Sparsh Mudra, like this. Bhumi Sparsh Mudra, it symbolizes ABCD. Again, a question on Buddhism. Which one of the following pairs does not form part of the 6 systems of Indian philosophy? So 6 orthodox Hindu schools: Mimamsa, Vedanta, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Lokayat, Kapalika, and Sankhya and Yoga. Okay. Again, a question on religion. The national motto of India, Satyameva Jayate, inscribed below the emblem of India, is taken from Katha Upanishad, Chandok Upanishad, Aitreya Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad. Okay. Which of the following characteristics characterize the people of Indus civilization? So, one question on Indus Valley civilization. So, you saw that I have not picked these questions purposely. I just took some 5-6 questions in a chronological order. And you will see that out of the 6 questions that I have taken, 5 are from religion. Okay. And a technical question from Indus Valley civilization. So you need to understand that there is a lot of focus on philosophy and religion. So at least one question is bound to come from Jainism and Buddhism. Every year one question comes from there. Nahi to some other philosophy of that point of time. So one question will be there from religion, that's for sure. And the other questions which will be asked, they will be asked on terminology, on terms. Okay, so they will be giving you some technical terms, some post or some title of a book and who's the author. These are the kind of questions which are being asked. UPSC is really not interested in the life of the kings and their children and their children. Okay, so that chronology, there is no need to study that, I mean mug up that chronology. But what you need to know is the basic timeline, so that if you want to place, if UPSC is asking the chronological order of events or the chronological order of civilizations, there you shouldn't make a mistake. Okay, you should be able to know that these were the contemporary things. Acha, you might have seen there are some questions on contemporary, that okay, this was the king and he was contemporary to which, and students ask this question that sir, will you be teaching that? See, there are so many entities, so many personalities. It is impossible for a person to take one personality and say that okay, this personality was contemporary to this also, this also, this also, this also. Until and unless that you know the question, that this question is going to come in the exam. For that you can do this, but for other personalities you cannot. So this is something which you will have to relate, which your mind should relate automatically. If you know that a person belongs to this one era, okay, let's say 1600s, and then you are reading about somebody else and he is also there in 1600s, so your mind should automatically connect the two, that he was there in the north, he was there in the south, but they both were in 16th century. Okay, so this is how you need to proceed forward. Now let's talk about the Stone Age. Our syllabus technically starts from Stone Age. What is the meaning of Stone Age? Stone Age is the era, it's the time when human beings, Homo sapiens, we used to use stone tools, stone objects for our day-to-day use, for hunting, for killing, for digging, or whatever was the purpose. We were using these stone tools, and that age was called Stone Age. And it is very nicely explained in this book called Sapiens. You all know Harari ki ek book hai. It's called Sapiens. If you have not read it, please read it after your exams, not before it. Right now you don't have that much of time, but you must read that book. So he has explained how the use of stones got evolved. Human beings, as far as the hierarchy of food chain is concerned, in that food chain we were very low. We were not having the right tools to hunt. Okay, we don't have very strong nails like a tiger or a wolf. We don't have strong teeth. We don't have very long canines. But our main diet was meat. We were largely dependent on meat. We were omnivorous. But in case of omnivorous, our diet mainly had protein. Okay, carbohydrates, we were not into carbs. Okay, and as far as fruits are concerned, it was difficult for men to identify that which fruit is poisonous, which is not. So if you are moving in a forest, first of all, it's not an orchard where you will go and you will find 100 trees which are bearing fruits. That's not the case. So probably there was one time when there is one tree where the fruits are ripened, and then you go there, you are very lucky and you will get to eat the fruit. Otherwise, you had to be dependent on meat diet. Now, in case of meat diet, initially we were in a very lower order of the food chain, so we couldn't kill. Other animals were very fast, so we had to wait for a bigger animal to make the kill. So that bigger animal used to have the share. Let's say a tiger made the kill. Now first share will be that of tiger. The next share will be that of, let's say, the wild dogs and the hyenas, or other scavengers. They will take the share. By the time our number used to come, it was already too late and the good meat was already gone. We were left with the bones. So initially people started using these big stones to break the bones and reach the soft marrow. Human beings could eat that bone marrow, soft bone marrow, because we don't have that strong teeth like a hyena to break the bone. That was not possible. Then we realized that through the stone, if we can break the bone, we can break the head too. Eureka movement. भाई सर भी तो तोड़ सकते हैं, अगर हड्डी तोड़ी है तो सर भी तोड़ सकते हैं. So instead of breaking the bones and instead of being dependent on somebody else's kill, we thought that we can make our own kill. So we started moving in the bands using these stones, and we started hunting on our own. And now as the time progressed, these stone tools, they became more and more sophisticated. Okay, and then we see that the Stone Age got divided into different ages: the Paleolithic age, Mesolithic age, Neolithic age, and Chalcolithic age. Paleolithic age is the old Stone Age, which extends from 5 lakh to 10,000 BC, which is early Stone Age. Then there is Mesolithic age, which is seen as a transition zone. Meso means transition, that we have already discussed. It extends from 10,000 to around 4,000 BC. And then there is Neolithic age, which extends from 7,000 to 1,000 BC. Now you will see that, you know, the age are overlapping. You are saying that 10,000 to 4,000. Then you can ask, sir, if 10,000 to 4,000 is Mesolithic, then how come from 7,000 to 1,000 BC we have got Neolithic? It should be 4,000 to 1,000. See, the thing is that a new era ushered in a different region, and then it took some time to reach that idea in the other region. So the time periods are overlapping. Now the point is that most of the questions, most of the students, they are confused as in why we have differentiated between these ages. Most of the students think that this is because of the size of the stone tools. That in Paleolithic age, the stone tools were big, and then this Mesolithic age, the size of stone tools, you know, it became smaller, and then in Neolithic it became again sharper and smaller. This idea itself is wrong. Okay, these ages, they have not been divided because of the tools, because of the shape of the tools. That is an eventuality. भैया आप ऐसे सोचो कि if you are talking about the size of the tools and the sophistication of the tools, that must have been a gradual process. So if you are saying that Paleolithic extended from 5 lakh to 10,000 BC, it means that if I talk about 50,000 BC, then the size of tools which were there in 50,000 BC must have been smaller than 5 lakh BC, isn't it? The natural process. Then why exactly am I not starting this Mesolithic from 50,000? Why am I waiting till 10,000? What happened in 10,000 BC? Okay, so you need to be very, very careful in understanding this fact that whenever there is a new age, whenever a new era is ushered, there has to be one new discovery. Okay, a discovery which is changing the course of human life, you know, a big discovery. And that's when we say that it is the arrival of new age. Now all these ages are Stone Age. It means that stone tools are being used, but there must be one unique discovery because of which we are calling that new age has started. So in Mesolithic, that discovery is domestication of animals. Domestication of animals. This was the reason why we are saying that a new age has begun, it has started. Otherwise, as far as the stone tools are concerned, if you say the characteristic, if you compare between Mesolithic and Paleolithic, you will say that the tools in Mesolithic age, they were smaller than Paleolithic age. That's a fact. They will be a given fact. But is that the reason for different ages? No, that's not the reason. That is just a characteristic. Similarly, when we differentiate between Mesolithic and Neolithic, there must be one more discovery. In case of Neolithic, the discovery was domestication of plants. Domestication of plants, or in easy language, agriculture. The discovery of agriculture. Now after agriculture, agriculture changed the life of human beings. After agriculture, people could settle down. Right, now we didn't have to move from one place to another. We could just settle down, make houses, we got land, and we could have our own food. And this is how the diet changed. Okay, if you remember, we had this discussion in case of geography when we were talking about agriculture. And then there was this Chalcolithic age. Chalcolithic age is copper age. This started with the discovery of copper. We started using metal now. So we discovered a rock which when heated, you know, gives you the metal. You understood the art of smelting, copper smelting, and now this unique thing, this copper, you could beat it into different shapes. It could be drawn. You can heat it and you can make new tools, a sharper tool, a stronger tool. Now if you are making a hammer of copper, you will be able to easily break the stones. Okay, so copper became the one of the most important commodities of this time. But do you think that because copper was discovered, we stopped using stones? No, we did not. General public was still using the stones, and that's why it is called Chalcolithic age. It is still lithic, it is still a stone age. Okay, part of the stone age. Chaliye. Now let's talk about these ages in detail. Let's talk about the Paleolithic age. So in case of this stone ages, what as far as exam is concerned, the important aspects are the location of that age and any new discovery about it. So there are some important Paleolithic sites. For example, Son Valley in Punjab, which is now in Pakistan, that Punjab. Narmada Valley, Krishna Valley, Chota Nagpur Plateau, and Bori Valley in Maharashtra. Bori Valley in Maharashtra has the earliest evidence of human existence in Indian subcontinent, and that's why it becomes extremely important. So you can be asked a question that which of the following places has got the earliest existence of human beings in Indian subcontinent, and all these names will be given, all the sites will be given. You will get confused that all of them are Paleolithic sites. Then which one is the earliest? So Bori Valley in Maharashtra is the earliest site. Okay. If we talk about the tools, so hand axes were used, borers, chops, pebbles and flakes. These were the tools which were used in Paleolithic era. Important sites you can say, Narmada Valley is there, then Mahanadi Valley, Krishna Valley, Bhimbetka caves are there. Hundsigi is a place in Karnataka. It was there in the news, and that's why a question can be asked on Hundsigi, and Kurnool caves in Andhra Pradesh. So these are important Paleolithic sites, Paleolithic caves where the evidences have been excavated. These are the stone tools. You can see that how sharp these tools were. You know, they were chipped and edges were given to these tools so that they can be used for killing. So if you compare these tools with the other tools that we will be seeing for Mesolithic period and Neolithic period, the stones will become smaller. Now most of these stones, they have a gripping area. Okay, so from the bottom you can grip them, they are broad, and from the top they are all pointed. So they were used as for close combat, for hunting in a close range, for close range hunting process. If we talk about the lifestyle, people were hunters and gatherers. They were omnivorous. They used to eat both plant and animals, and they used to move from one place to another. They were nomads. Then clothing, they used to wear leaves and hides of animals in order to protect them from nature, and they used to live in caves from time to time. Why were they living in caves? Now you can ask that if they were nomads, they must be moving from one place to another. What was the need of caves? See, they had to protect themselves. Okay, they had to protect themselves from other tribes, they had to protect themselves from wild animals. So they needed some caves, they needed a mechanism where they can block, they used to stay inside the cave. So at least from one side they were protected, nobody could attack. And the mouth of the cave they used to block with either fire or block with other stones, so that a wild animal cannot come inside and they can sleep peacefully. Okay, so they used to live in caves, preferred hilly areas as they provided security. Natural caves were there in hilly areas, and they also provided security from other animals, that because from top they could see. So in most of the sites you will see that those sites, Paleolithic sites, they are in the hilly areas. Look at this. This is a picture of Bhimbetka caves. So a lot of information we have gained from the Bhimbetka caves of Madhya Pradesh. Okay, they are close to Bhopal. I think 40-45 kilometers from Bhopal, pretty close. If you look at these paintings, they tell us a lot. Okay, and a question can be asked in mains also, that what do we understand about the contemporary society from Bhimbetka paintings? So this can be a question, and similar question can be asked for other paintings also, that what do we understand from Ajanta paintings, what do we understand from Bagh paintings, or from architecture. So I'm giving you a template. If you understand this template, you will be able to answer all the questions very precisely. Okay, in mains also. So if we talk about Bhimbetka paintings, what do they talk about the contemporary society? People generally start writing random facts, but go through a chronological order. Okay, let's say we talk about society. So what do we get to know about society? We can say that the society was tribal, nomadic. Okay. They had knowledge of music and dance, because you can see that people are there involved in some kind of a ritual. Okay. They are dancing, they are trying, some ritual is there. So we can interpret that probably there was some concept of music and dance. They used to make some music and they used to dance. There must have been certain festivals. Okay. If we try to know about the polity, what does it tell about polity? It will say that probably people were living in tribes and there was no concept of king, and probably a tribal leader was ruling. So concept of king is not there, tribal leader is there. If we talk about economy, we will be able to see that there were hunters and gatherers. What else? There was division of labor. Division of labor as in that women, they were taking care of children. The paintings are shown. See, I'm not talking about particularly this painting, I'm talking about a painting in general of Bhimbetka caves. Okay, this is just one sample that I have taken. So division of labor was there. Women was usually involved in taking care of children, and women, they were also involved in hunting process. Okay, so people were going out, usually men were going out, and women were also there in hunting. So division of labor was there, but it was not that distinct. It was not that women are not allowed to move out and hunt. Okay, so few women were also involved in the hunting activity. Then we can talk about science. So looking at these paintings, we get to know about the tools that they were using, the weapons that they were using, the spears and arrows and all those things. We also get to know that they had the knowledge of chemistry. This is a very unique point. They had the knowledge of chemistry, because the kind of paintings that they made, the kind of colors that they have used, you will get to know that they knew about their surroundings, they knew how to extract the colors, they knew how to mix that color with the fat and then apply it. Because if you look at these paintings, they have not lost their color. The color is still intact, the color pigment is still there. So they knew the art of mixing of colors. So you can say that they had the knowledge of chemistry, the basic chemistry. Okay. It also tells us about the environment and ecology. Environment and ecology, because the way they have made the paintings, we get to know about what species were living there. For example, in Bhimbetka painting, there is this image of rhinoceros. Right now, rhinoceros is only there in Kaziranga National Park in Assam. But by looking at this painting, we can understand and we can say that rhinoceros were there in MP also, Madhya Pradesh also. So these people, they had knowledge of rhinoceros. So similarly, there are many other animals and plants which have been drawn. You will get to know about the biodiversity of that region. So if you are writing your answer this way, you will be able to express more points and some unique points also, which your competitors are not writing. Okay, so this scheme you can use in other type of paintings as well. We will be discussing about those paintings also later in history. Now let's talk about the Mesolithic age. Mesolithic age, there are important sites. For example, Adamgarh in Madhya Pradesh, Bagor, there is a place called Bagor in Rajasthan, Bhimbetka in Madhya Pradesh. In Bhimbetka, you find the evidence of Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, all of them. Okay. Tools, they used to use blades which were sharp on both the edges, crescent and arrow. Okay. Size of the tool, it got reduced, it became smaller, and these people, they require more precision. For these tools, you required more precision and skill to kill an animal. Because bada stone hai, you just need sheer power. But when the tools become sophisticated, smaller, then you need precision and skill. Lifestyle was similar to Paleolithic man, except one major change: domestication of animals had started, which I have already told you. Then Neolithic, there are some important Neolithic sites like Chirand in Bihar. This is the place where only bone tools have been found. So these are the important points which you need to mark and which you need to remember, because questions are being asked on these unique topics, that on which of the Neolithic sites only bone tools have been found. Burzahom and Guftaral in Kashmir. This is the place which is unique for its burial. Here we have found dog burial. Okay. So dogs have been there in the graves with their masters, which is a very, very unique thing about Burzahom and Guftral in Kashmir. Then Bhimbetka, MP, Belan Valley in UP, Mehergarh in Balochistan. Mehergarh is the place where for the first time the first agricultural evidence is found. Barley was grown there. That is the first agricultural evidence. So we can say that the Neolithic era, it started from Mehergarh. And Maski and Brahmagiri in Karnataka. Okay? So they are also Neolithic and Chalcolithic sites, Brahmagiri and Maski. Then tools, we have got antelope horns, oval shaped tools and polished stone. In different region we have got different tools, but I don't think this precise question will be asked in exam. Kitna matlab कि antelope horns from Kashmir and oval shaped tools from southern India and polished stone from Bihar. If you are able to remember all this, it's fine. Sometimes you can remember things by not remembering them. You tell yourself कि ये तो नहीं आएगा, ठीक है, क्या नहीं आएगा, and repeat. You repeat what you think will not come. You repeat that horn tools, you know, antelope horns from Kashmir, this won't come. Oval shaped tools from South India, this won't come. Polished tools from Bihar, this won't come. So the more you will keep on repeating this, then you won't forget. So if it will come, jackpot, bonanza for you. These are all tools to remember things. So this map shows the Neolithic cultural sites. Okay. So this is Burzahom. Okay. This is Mehergarh, close to Quetta, where the first evidence of agriculture has been found. Okay. And then there are many locations in South India. For example, Maski is here in Karnataka. Okay. बहुत सारी sites हैं. Once you will get the Chiran in Bihar, close to Patna. So once the slides are there with you, you can study this map. There is no need to remember all the sites. What all I have given in the slides, that is more than sufficient for you guys. Okay. These are the tools. So you can see antelope horns. You can see these arrowheads. They are more sophisticated, smaller and sharper. Okay. Neolithic site tools that we have received from Neolithic sites. Then lifestyle. So lifestyle drastically changed from Neolithic era. Man became a food producer. And the first evidence of agriculture is from Mehergarh. Wheat and barley, they were grown at around 7000 to 6000 BC. And the first evidence of rice is from Belan Valley, MP. The rice was grown at around 6000 BC. So this is the first evidence of rice that we have known in Indian subcontinent. Clothing, animal skin, leaves and bark. Housing started. So they started making some. Started to make some fundamental houses which had thatched roof. So straw and all they used to keep there on the roof, and mud walls were made. So basic rudimentary mud houses were made by these people, and they started living in a bigger groups. Again, in bigger groups because of agriculture. Pottery making started with the help of a wheel. So discovery of wheel in Neolithic era was done not to move. You need to understand. The discovery of wheel was done for pottery making. So first of all, potter's wheel was made, and then this idea was used. The wheel was used for traveling. Okay, this you need to keep in mind. Chaliye. Then comes the Chalcolithic age, the age where copper was found. So there are 2-3 important cultures: Ahar culture, Jorve culture, and Malwa culture. These are the prominent Chalcolithic cultures. And then we have got Indus Valley civilization. It's a complete civilization, a big civilization, but that is also part of Chalcolithic age. So don't get confused, because that is also a civilization of Bronze Age. Okay. So Ahar and Gulund in Rajasthan, these are the two places from which we get Ahar culture, where we have found copper tools. ठीक है, खेतरी mine है वहीं पे, तो from there the copper was taken. Jorve culture from Inamgaon, Daimabad in Maharashtra. So here we have found flat regular copper axes, and houses, they have their unique shape. So because of the houses, we have been able to identify that they are part of Jorve culture. And then we have got this Malwa culture. So Navda Toli, Iran, Kayatha in Madhya Pradesh. These are the regions from which Malwa culture place has been found. And a unique thing is that we have found a spindle. Spindle was used to make thread. Okay, so you can say that the cloth making started from Malwa culture. Okay, don't forget. So cloth making started from Malwa culture. We have found a spindle in Malwa culture. It's a Chalcolithic site. Tools, they were largely made of stone and copper. The use of stone tools was still going on. It's not that since we have understood the making of copper, we abandoned those tools. Hand axes, sickles, borers, they were all made of, and many of them, they were made of copper, because they were stronger, and the copper could be used in any way. Okay, it was a very flexible kind of a metal. Okay. So these are the Chalcolithic sites that we have got. Okay, Gilund, Ahar. Okay, alag dots, they are showing different civilizations. Okay, Daimabad, Navdatoli, Namgaon, Jorwe, completely Jorwe culture. Okay. So as time passed, the idea of smelting of copper, it also kept on passing from one place to another. If we talk about the lifestyle, a developed village lifestyle, it started. Variety of crops were grown like wheat, barley, rice, pulses, oil seeds, dates, pea and watermelon. The same thing, all these things, they were grown in Indus Valley civilization also. Okay, these were the things that were grown in Indus Valley civilization. So we'll be talking about Indus Valley civilization in detail. I'm going a little faster with these slides because itna aisa koi important nahi hai, and things are conceptual, so even if a question is asked, you will be able to write an answer. Yeah. Domestication of animal, cattle and pigs, they were domesticated, and cotton was used in the later period of Chalcolithic time. Pottery was ochre colored, and black and red pottery was used. Okay, black and red pottery is identity of Indus Valley civilization. Burials mein hai, they buried the dead bodies with the personal belongings of the person. If a person is buried with the personal belongings, with the chain, with the necklace and earrings and tools, it means that you believe in life after death. Okay, it means that the person is going to use all these tools in the next life. So this idea that a person is being buried with personal belongings, it shows that these people, they believed in a life after death. Okay, then in Western India, bodies were buried in north to south direction, and in Southern India, they were buried from east to west direction. So different regions, they had their different faiths, different styles. So the burial was also different. Housing, mud and mud brick houses, they were found in this type of culture. So this is the general description of the Chalcolithic period. So at this point, I'll finish Chalcolithic period, and the next topic that we are going to start is Indus Valley civilization. Now guys, we are going to discuss about Indus Valley civilization. Now the uniqueness about this civilization is that, first of all, its discovery was very, very accidental. Okay, it was believed that the first civilization of India is the Vedic civilization. So the Aryans are the oldest people of India. And when this discovery was made, when the excavation was done, it was absolutely mind-boggling, because we realized that there were some people who were living before the Vedic culture, before the arrival of Aryans. So that was one thing. Also, when we study the Indus Valley civilization, we get to understand that it was one of the largest civilizations in the contemporary world, and also it was far ahead as compared to other contemporary civilizations in terms of civic sense, in terms of science, in terms of technology. Okay, because when you compare it with other civilization, let's say Egyptian civilization, in Egyptian civilization, we'll see that kings had a lot of power. They made huge pyramids, huge cities, but the wealth was only concentrated up to the king, and the king was the master. But in case of Indus Valley civilization, we don't find such huge structures, but what we find is well laid city planning, beautiful urban areas, and those urban areas, we can say that the present day cities can be made on the model of those cities. Okay, they were that good. So we'll get to know about the Indus Valley civilization in detail. Okay, just keep these things in your mind, that we are going to talk about an extremely advanced culture, extremely advanced civilization. So in 1850, the construction of railways had started in India. 1856, the first railway line was opened from Thane to Mumbai. So at this point of time, a lot of railway construction work was done, and because of that, excavations were going on, digging was going on. So some artifacts were found and those artifacts were extremely old. So this discovery was extremely exciting because when they were dated, when those artifacts were dated, it was realized that they are much older than the Vedic civilization, and that initiated the excavation. However, the excavation got postponed, and then in the early 20th century, the World War I started. So everything was put on a halt. Okay, and then in 1921, the first Indus Valley site was excavated, and it was called, the place was Harappa. Okay, and because Harappa was the first site to be excavated, that's why the Indus Valley civilization, the first name of Indus Valley civilization was the Harappan civilization. Okay, so it was excavated under the leadership of Sir John Marshall and D.R. Sani, and Harappa is situated on the bank of river Ravi in Punjab. That part of Punjab is now in Pakistan. So on the bank of river Ravi, Harappa was discovered. Then in 1922, there was this another big discovery, another excavation, and Mohenjo-daro was excavated under the supervision of R.D. Banerjee, and it was in the Larkana district of Sindh, which is again in Pakistan right now, and it was on the bank of Indus. So it was the largest excavation that was done. So up till recent times, Mohenjo-daro was considered to be the largest city of Indus Valley civilization. Now we have discovered that Rakhigarhi is the largest city that has been excavated. Okay. Now have a look at this is Mohenjo-daro. Let's talk about the famous sites, and when we will be talking about the famous sites, I will be talking about the unique things about those sites, and when we will be discussing about those things, we will touch the other aspects also, and then when we will be winding up the entire Indus Valley civilization, I won't be teaching those things again because I will be discussing them here. So this is the image of Mohenjo-daro. You can see how beautifully the city has been made. You cannot see a very large structure anywhere except this big mound. Okay, at the center there was this big hall, which is believed that probably this hall was used for some government function or some meeting of the elites, and that center is there, that big hall is there. Apart from that, you can see that this is the Great Bath, the famous Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro. First of all, we will be talking about this Great Bath. You can see this structure, the image. Technically, Great Bath, as the name suggests, Great Bath, it was a huge bathtub, or you can think that, it like the modern day swimming pool. It was like that. It's pretty deep. Okay, it's a large bathtub which is found right in the city, and it measures around 11.88 meters in length and 7.7 meters in breadth, and has a maximum depth of 2.43 meters. 2.43 meters is pretty deep. Okay, you can get drowned in 2.43 meters. It is made up of burned bricks, okay, of standard size, and it is believed. Now in history, you must learn how to use this term. It is believed, because in history we don't know what exactly was it used for. These are only interpretations. So when we read some text, when we read some literary sources, when we find some archaeological evidences, we only interpret history according to them, and that's why we always use this, that it is believed that it was used for certain purpose. So it is believed that it might have been used for some ritual or holy bath. Okay, probably it was used for this, probably it was a norm, people was just hygienic, they used to go there for fun, take bath and all that. But because historians have written that it is believed that it was used for ritual or some holy bath, then we'll have to write that. We are not here to contradict anything. Okay, you must have seen that it is made up of burned bricks of standard size. This is a unique thing. Indus Valley civilization is the first civilization to use burnt bricks in the world. Okay, so there are different things. There is a mud brick, there is a baked brick. In case of baked brick, bricks are heated on some platform, they are not directly burnt, and then there are burned bricks where the bricks are thrown right into the fire and taken out. So those are burned bricks. The red colored bricks that we use these days right now in the construction of your houses, they are also burned bricks. Okay, so there is this brick kiln जिसको ईंट का भट्टा बोलते हैं. So in that brick kiln, these clay bricks are made and they are sent into the fire, and then they are burned. So they are very, very strong. So this civilization, IVC, was the first civilization to use burned bricks. I'll take up this point once again. Okay, so this is about Great Bath. And then there is this great granary. A large granary is found. Okay, how do we know that it is a granary? because when I used to read it in the book, I used to imagine that there will be this large vessel, ऐसे करके कोई एक बड़ा सा vessel होगा, life size, and probably this is the granary and all the grains were put in this. No, this is not right. Okay, ऐसा नहीं है. We have found a chamber like a house, okay, as a platform, and in this platform the walls are not there. Probably they are broken with time. They have been destroyed, but you can see the foundation. Right. So it looks like a room. It looks like a normal room, and we have interpreted that probably this is a granary. Okay, and we call it Great Granary because it is one of the largest granaries that we have found in Indus Valley civilization. Now, how do we get to know that this is a granary? Because in this chamber we have discovered the fossil of the produce, agricultural produce, grains ke fossils we have found, and that's why we know that this is granary. This also shows that there was a surplus of food production in Indus Valley, and there was this concept of government, and they used to bring the surplus food at one place and they used to save it for harsh days or in case of a flood. Okay, so this shows that there was a proper civic administration, storage facilities, and trade and commerce, because if you have surplus of food, you can trade this food as well. Then we have discovered a dancing girl made of bronze. And this is a statue. It is one of the finest examples of sculptures of ancient times, and it looks, we call it a dancing girl. And why I have a problem with that, I'll tell you. I'll just show you how dancing girl looks like. So it is said that it is a dancing girl, so the posture is of dance, and it is, apart from wearing necklace and bangles, it is naked. So it is just wearing those long bangles from arm to the wrist, and it is wearing a necklace, and apart from that she is not wearing anything. And this shows that probably there was the practice of dance and festival and music, and it also shows the artistic and metallurgical capability of the civilization. So these people, they used to use a process called lost wax technique. Lost wax technique to use to make this bronze image. What is this technique? Just imagine that still we use the same technique. It is being used across the world, across the globe, to make the sculptures. And this technique they had used in when 2500 BC, right, in that era. In this case, in this technique, we take wax and we carve the statue with wax because it is easy to carve. So we carve a statue with wax and make a mold of that. Okay, and from the top we put molten metal, so the wax melt because of the heat and it comes out, and molten metal takes the place of wax in the mold, and then it is solidified. You take it out and then voila, you get the statue. So this is what is the lost wax technique. And let me show you the dancing girl. This is how a dancing girl looks like. Now my problem is that it is my interpretation. My interpretation, you are not supposed to write my interpretation. This is a dancing girl because it has been named like this. But from where does it look like a dancing girl? It looks like that she is angry at someone. Like probably her husband has come late and she is just standing there and asking question that why have you come late? Like look at her expressions. Those are not dancing expressions at all. Okay. And she is just like, you tell me. Right. So some weird, what can we say, people have interpreted things, and you can see that she is wearing this necklace and she is wearing these bangles in the complete arm. Okay. In the other arm also she is wearing some sort of thing above the elbow and in the wrist. So this shows that there was a concept of wearing a lot of jewelry at this point of time. Apart from that, she is not wearing anything. Chaliye. Then we have discovered the largest number of seals from Mohenjo-daro. Seal क्या होती है कि they were made of steatite, which was hardened clay, and they were probably used as currency. And although in most of the places the barter system was prevalent, or as a mark of authority for trade, okay, they were also used as a mark of authority. Now understand that what exactly is a seal. Okay, this is what is given in the book, the extra knowledge. What is a seal? Right now, when we talk about a seal, it is the symbol of some authority, that okay, I'm sealing it. or you must have seen that in the movies, we take lakh, we burn it, we put it on an envelope, and then we put a seal over it so that the envelope is closed, and then when you are breaking the seal, you cannot close it once again. The UPSC answer booklets, when you'll get, it has also got a seal. You have to cut that seal and open the booklet, right? Once the seal is cut, you cannot use it again. That was the main reason why the seal was used here. So there was a lot of trade going on, okay, and the packages were sent, the consignments were sent. So what these people used to do, they had this seal, and the seal, if you look at this seal, it had one insignia, this animal, and apart from that, it is also having the language of Harappan civilization. So in all the seals, you can see that this is, at one place the language is given and the family insignia is given. So it is believed that there were many trading units in Harappan civilization, or you can say that there were many families or tribes, whatever you want to call them. They were there which were involved in trade, and every family had got its own insignia. Now once the package was sealed, obviously you have to take care of the quality if you are sending some consignment. You can also appreciate the fact that how much they used to think about the quality control and to prevent the theft. So what these people used to do, they used to cover it in a bag, okay? Whatever the article was sent, it was covered in a bag, and that bag was sealed by clay. So initially the clay was wet, and over that wet clay they used to put the seal, okay? So once you are putting the seal, the clay used to get this image, insignia, and it showed that, okay, it is coming from your family or the trading unit or whatever guild, probably if there were guilds taking care of the business there. So probably it is from one guild and it has been sealed. Now that wet clay over which you have put this mark, it will become hardened, solid. If somebody is trying to steal something, first of all, that person will not have the seal. So if it is breaking that seal, if that person is breaking that seal, clay seal, then that person will not be able to join it, because if the clay is broken, you cannot make it wet once again and join it. Now you don't have the insignia. So that also helped in taking care of the theft and the consignment. Okay. So there were multiple types of seals. So we have got round seals, square seals, cylindrical shaped seals. So in case of cylindrical seal, you just put the wet clay and you roll it over wet clay, and the imprint will be there on the seal, on the wet clay. In this we can find the Harappan script, the idea of gods probably and animals, they are also depicted on the seal. Okay, so you can see that there is this warrior, a great warrior, who is holding the two tigers from the hands, and from here itself I can just look at that image and I can see that the chest size is 56 inches. ठीक है, 56 इंच की छाती उसकी लग रही है मुझे. So you never know, people are born again, right? The brave men, you know. Also you need to understand when I'm sarcastic and when I'm talking about fact in history, okay, understand the sarcasm. And it's very bad, because after cracking the joke, when you have to explain that you have sarcasm, because I got a message once, I was talking about some government decision was taken. It's a funny thing. So some government decision was taken, and there's this forest in Assam where the coal reserves are there, and the environment ministry had put a ban on coal mining there, but now the government has passed it, that okay, the coal mining will start in that forest, and that forest is famous for 7 wild cats. 7 wild cats, that's the only forest where we are having 7 wild cats. So this discussion, I think it was on Babagiri, so we made this series called Babagiri for prelims. So in Babagiri we were sitting there, it's there on YouTube, we were sitting there, and I said that आपको सब डेवलपमेंट चाहिए, सबको बिल्ली किसको चाहिए, तो बिल्ली को मार दो, डेवलपमेंट करो. And I was being sarcastic, and people have just started mailing there that how can you speak like this was not expected of you, we thought that you are such a great teacher, but you are also thinking like this. And I was like, अरे भाई क्या है यार, watch Friends, watch Chandler, just watch Chandler Bing, you try to understand what sarcasm is. तो इसलिए ठीक है, if I'm trying to crack a joke, please don't take it personally. And anyway, history has become very, very sensitive suddenly. So if you feel some, offended or something, you just send me a mail that, sir, I did not like this thing. I'll type sorry and I'll send it to you. Don't take it personal, okay? Just for good fun. Anyway, So we get to know about the script, we get to know about the gods and the animals also, the biodiversity. So the same idea that we used in Bhimbetka painting, that it tells about their artistic ability, it tells about the society, it tells about the gods that they worship, the idea of god that was there, and it also tells about the trading extent. Because when we look at these seals are also important for us, because we have found Indus Valley seals in different places. For example, we have found these seals in Mesopotamia, which tells us that there were trading links between India and Mesopotamia, Indus Valley civilization and Mesopotamia at that point of time. Okay, so we'll get into the interpretation once again. Then script, it is a pictographic script, the script which is written there. Wait, you can see the script, this thing. Okay. So in Indus Valley civilization, it is a pictographic script, and it is called Bostrophodon. This term is important, Bostrophodon. Bostrophodon means that it is written from right to left, and then from left to right, and then from right to left. Okay. So this is the order in which the script is written. So if the script is written like this type of script is called Bostrophodon. Till now we have not been able to decipher it. Okay, but we have identified 400 unique symbols in this language. Okay, we cannot interpret it, but 400 symbols we have identified that they are meaning something. Then there is this assembly hall, a large assembly hall which is there at the citadel, which I showed you in the first picture, that top one. So there is this large hall, vacant hall, and it is believed that it was used for some official purpose. Then we have discovered this Pashupati seal. So the idea is that probably this is the idea of Proto Shiva, which is the modern interpretation of that seal. So this yogi is sitting, and there are many animals around it. So that is what is Pashupati. So a seal depicts a human image sitting in the center, which is known as Proto Shiva. And the image is surrounded by tiger, elephant, rhino and a buffalo. Okay, and it has got 2 deers at his feet. Now these animals are important: tiger, elephant, rhino and buffalo, and 2 deers. This is important because a question can be asked that which of the following animals have been depicted in the Pashupati seal, and then one of the animals they'll change the animal and you'll get confused. Okay. Then evidence of cotton has been found in the fossilized form from Mohenjo-daro. So cotton was there. And then there is this large building, probably a palace or the governor's house. It has been excavated at the citadel. However, it is not clear whether the Harappan people were governed by a king or committee of citizens. So we don't know whether kingship was there. If we look at the civilization, if we look at the society or the economy of the civilization, we know that there was slight inequality, not like the Egyptian civilization or the Chinese civilization. Slight inequality because there are some 2-story houses, there was single-story houses also. So probably if a person is having more money, he has made 2-story houses, but we haven't got an evidence of a palace or fort. So we don't know whether there was a person who was behaving like a king. Okay, so it is believed that probably it was a unique kind of a society which was being ruled by the trading units, probably, or an association rather than a king. Okay, these are all just the ideas that we have interpreted from the archaeology. Then second important city is Harappa, which is located on the bank of river Ravi. Some of the important findings. So in case of Mohenjo-daro, we found a great granary, one large room as a granary. Now in this we have found 12 granaries which are kept in 2 rows. So 6 in one row and 6 in other row. So this is how it looks like if you look at the image. Okay, so you have got 6 granaries like this, and in front of it there are again these 6 granaries. Apart from these granaries, to the south of this granaries, working floors are there. Okay, so working floors are there, circular blocks have been made of brick platforms, and they were meant for threshing the grains, wheat and barley. ठीक है, क्योंकि उसमें उनके crevices में we have found wheat and barley, so they were used for threshing. So seeds are brought, the grains are brought, and then they are thrashed. Okay, so that the thin covering over that seed is taken off, and then you can get a grain, and then you can just उसको पीस के you can get the आटा out of it. And then there are 2-roomed barracks which is believed that probably those barracks were made to accommodate the laborers who were working with the grains in the threshing process. Then we have discovered different type of burial practices from Harappa. So there is this direct burial. In case of direct burial, the body is directly buried in the ground. So a pit has been made and body is put directly there. There is urn burial. Urn means a kalash sort of a thing. So the body is burnt, the ashes are put in an urn, and then that urn is buried in the soil. And then there is this coffin burial. What is coffin burial? So a casket is made, that is called a coffin, a box, and then the body is put in a box, the box is covered, and then the box is put down in the earth. So these are the three types of burials that we have discovered from Harappa. Also, from this city we have found the second largest number of seals after Mohenjo-daro. Then we have got Kalibangan, which is on the river Ghaggar. Kalibangan is very important because it is one of the most important sites of IVC that has been excavated in India. River Ghaggar is passing through India, so from Rajasthan. What are the important findings? So we have got pre-Harappan and Harappan culture in Kalibangan. Kalibangan is also famous because we have found the evidence of plowed land. Okay, so we know that land was being plowed for agriculture. The use of plow was there, but have we discovered any plow? No, the plow has not been discovered because at this point of time the plows were made of wood, and wood is perishable. So even if those plows were used, then they got disintegrated. However, we have found plows in the form of terracotta toys. So in case of terracotta is clay. So clay toys are made. They have been found in IVC. So in those terracotta toys, we have seen the bullock carts, we have seen plows also. So half of the things which we have not discovered directly, we have discovered through that process with the help of toys. There has been evidence of fire altars. What are fire altars? जैसे यज्ञ होता है, so in case of a yajna, this place is made, fire altar is made in which fire is burnt and you put the sacrifices for God in that. So we have discovered fire altar. So it means that these people also believe that probably fire is the connection between human being and God. So an offering made to the God can be made to the fire and the fire will take it to the God. So that is what is a fire altar. This is what we believe, that a fire altar was this like like this was made. Probably it was like a campfire sort of a thing, we don't know, but it is believed that probably that was a place of worship. Because why are we making this connection? Because in Vedic civilization, fire altars, they were very properly designed. Okay? So we'll get to Vedic civilization, we'll be able to understand this contrast. Citadel is made of burned bricks in case of Kalibangan. So citadel, it was the upper area. We'll get to the citadel when we'll discuss about the city planning. It was made of burned bricks. In all other sites, the citadel has been made of, in case of Kalibangan, it is made of mud bricks, which is unique because in all the other sites except one or two, it is made of burned bricks. We'll see that the most of the construction in IVC has been done by burned bricks. But there are some unique sites. For example, there are sites where the citadel is made of stone, not bricks at all. And in Kalibangan, the citadel is made of mud bricks rather than burnt bricks. We have discovered bones of camel also here. It means that camel was used either, it was tamed, so it was used either for transportation or for traveling. Rectangular and circular graves have been found from Kalibangan, and this is the region where no drainage and burned bricks evidence have been found. So Kalibangan as a city is very, very unique. That's why we believe that it is kind of a pre-Harappan city, pre-Harappan civilization, where the Harappan people had come and started living. Because we haven't found the burned bricks, which are found everywhere in the Indus Valley civilization, and drainage system is not there. Drainage system is a very, very unique thing about the Indus Valley civilization. Why was it unique? That we'll discuss later. Then Lothal. Lothal is on the bank of river Bhogwa. See, I'm telling you all these rivers because questions can be asked. A match the following kind of a question can be asked. That arrange the following or see which of the following pairs are correctly matched. So they will give you an IVC site and the river on whose bank the place is. Rivers were very, very important. You will find that almost all the ancient civilizations, important ones, or all the big cities, they were found at the bank of river, because the basic need of human being is water, fresh water. You cannot be dependent. You require water throughout the year, so you cannot be totally dependent on rainfall, and that's why most of the civilizations, most of the big cities, they were there at the bank of some important rivers. For example, if we talk about Rome, Rome was on the bank of river Tiber. You might not have heard about river Tiber because Rome is famous, but people generally don't pay attention to Tiber. Okay, probably Tiber should be one of the most important global rivers. Okay, so Rome was there on the bank of Tiber. Similarly, you'll see that most of the important cities, Patliputra was on the bank of Ganga. Most of the important cities, ancient cities, they were always close to the bank of a river. Okay, so Lothal on the bank of river Bhogwa in Gujarat. In Lothal, we have discovered a dockyard which is made of burned bricks once again, and it was used for shipping. Okay, it's an artificial dock. The dock was made and it was used for shipping, which shows that the navigation was there, the art of shipbuilding was also there, and trading links were there. Persian seals have been found showing the evidence of trade, that they had trade, India had trade with Persia, with Mesopotamia. Then we have got evidence of rice husk. Okay, so this is the only place. There is this place called Rangapur. Okay, so Rangapur and Lothal, these are the only places where we have discovered rice husk, where the cultivation of rice was there. In the overall civilization, rice was not that famous a crop. Okay, then entry to houses is there on the main street. This is a unique point to Lothal. You just write it star mark karke ke in Lothal the entry to houses is towards the main street. Why is it a unique point? That I will discuss when we will be discussing city planning. Okay, evidence of double burial has been found in Lothal. What is double burial? Two bodies in one grave. That is what is double burial. So most common is a male and female which have been put together, and then in other graves we have found two male bodies, male and male, and female and female. Those two bodies are also there. So this type of double burial evidences we have discovered from Lothal. The reason why was this done, two bodies, why they were kept together, that is not known. And then we have got evidence of fire altars also. So at every place where I'm saying that fire altar evidence was there, it's not important to remember, because in general a question can be asked about the religious beliefs of Indus Valley people, and if there is written that fire altars were used, or fire was seen as sacred, as a link between human to God, then in that statement you'll have to mark as correct. Then there is this place called Chanhu Daro, again on the bank of river Indus. It is there in Sindh. Chanhu Daro is believed to be the industrial town of IVC. Okay, so we have discovered the factories of bangles and beads. Everything is standardized in IVC. Everything is standardized, which shows that there was this central administration which was taking care of quality, weights and measures, which is an identity of a modern civilization. Okay, right now we have weights and measures, so that everywhere you will find that the size of the brick, the burnt brick, it was same in the entire civilization. It was a huge country. The scale of the civilization was like a huge country, right? So right now, if you talk about the area of India from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from top to bottom, you can extend it from, let's say, Balochistan to UP, almost from Kashmir, Jammu to Maharashtra. That is pretty large area. Okay, so with that scale, everything was standardized. The size of the bricks was same. The bangles that were made, the beads that were made, they were all standardized in terms of their looks, in terms of their weight. So we see that there were factories. So in place of Chanhu Daro, so the way we have discovered Chanhu Daro, other places will also be there, other towns will also be there, probably which were factory towns. The only city in Indus Valley civilization which does not have a citadel was Chanhu Daro. Okay? And it is located 130 kilometers south of Mohenjo-daro. So this is the only city. Chanhu Daro is the only city where a citadel is not there. Citadel was the uplifted platform over which the city was built. So in Chanhu Daro, we haven't discovered the citadel. Okay, these are unique points, something which is unique that that attracts UPSC, and that's the statement which you can get in your paper. Then comes Dholavira, a very important city as far as India is concerned. Multiple times questions have been asked on Dholavira. So it is in Kutch district of Gujarat. Gujarat mein Kutch area mein hai, and it is located on the Tropic of Cancer. So you can understand that the place is extremely hot, right there at the Tropic of Cancer. Okay, and it is located on Khadir Bayt Island in Kutch Desert Wildlife Sanctuary in the Great Run of Kutch. So it is there in a run of Kutch. The soil is saline, you cannot grow anything, so soil isn't infertile, and it is right there at Tropic of Cancer. The citadel of Dholavira is built of stone, not burnt bricks. So this is the uniqueness of Dholavira, that the stone citadel is there. It's a monumental work and most impressive amongst the Harappan citadels. A unique water harnessing system and its storm water drainage system. See, it is there at Kutch. Kutch receives a number of cyclones because it is the edge where water is very narrow and water is hot, right there at the Tropic of Cancer. So ITCZ, when it moves up and down, we have already discussed it in monsoon, cyclones are formed here. So this area is highly susceptible for cyclones. So these people, they already thought about it. So the concept of disaster management was also there. You have to relate it with the modern concepts. So this place was also having the concept of disaster management. Okay, so storm water drainage system was there and water harnessing system was there. It needs to have water harnessing system because anyway it's not going to have that many rains, right? One of the most important finding of Dholavira has been signboard with Indus script. So everywhere we have found the Indus script, we have in most of the cases we have found it on the seals, but we haven't found it on the boards, on the walls, anywhere. Dholavira is the only place where we have found a signboard which is written in Indus Valley script. Probably there were other mechanisms to communicate. Boards were made probably of cloth, probably of something which is perishable, probably of wood, but we have not discovered. But this is one place where we have discovered that. Okay, and it has a similar bath like Mohenjo-daro, but it is slightly smaller in size. So we know that, you know, probably it was for a unique ritual which was being done in the entire IVC region. Acha, in around Great Bath, Mohenjo-daro ke Great Bath mein, so if this is the Great Bath, around the Great Bath there are other chambers also. Okay, so there are bathrooms which are connected to Great Bath. So you can take water from Great Bath, you can go to the bathroom and take shower. And all these rooms, all these bathrooms, they are connected to the main drainage. Okay, also the water was taken into the Great Bath from the Indus river. Indus water was taken and this Great Bath was full. Great Bath is great because it is not only created of burnt bricks, but the base of the Great Bath in Mohenjo-daro, it is plastered so that water does not seep down. So they have taken care of everything. Okay, and it has got steps. Since it is deep, it has got steps. So you can, instead of jumping, you can gradually go down in the water, take bath and come out. So it's a complete bathroom complex. Now let's look at the town planning, something which is extremely unique to Mohenjo-daro, to Indus Valley civilization. This is an artistic impression of the town where the citadel has been made. So this is the main city, and you can see that the city has expanded outside the main walled city. There are many aspects to the town planning. Unique feature of this civilization: how do you connect Indus Valley civilization to present day? Right now you can get a question on the smart city project. Government of India ka pet project hai, the smart city project. What is a smart city project? It has to be scientific, drainage should be provided, water should be available to people. Of course we are talking about the internet, but internet was not there at that point of time. Apart from internet and communication, all the aspects of modern smart city are there in Indus Valley civilization. So let's say if a question is asked on smart city, you can say that this is not something new in India. The idea of smart city was there in IVC, but somehow something happened and we went back from this aesthetic sense to, I don't know, whatever, the darkness. Okay, because these people are much more sophisticated than us. Okay, right now an auntie has to move on the walls with a banner in her hand shouting the slogan, "Khule mein hagna band karo." You all might have seen that video, right? She needs to tell, I mean, people in India, they are told that where can they go and crap and where they can, where can't they go and do it, right? So people who are told such things, right, how can you imagine, how can you consider them that, you know, they will take India into a better future, right? So somehow we are still very backward. There are some basic things that we need to teach the society, right? Open defecation is a problem in India right now. And if we talk about the town planning here, these people, they had the idea of closed bathrooms and toilets. They had the idea of covered drainage. So this is the important point. When I spoke about the drainage, this is what I wanted to tell you. This is the unique thing, that somehow we are going backward in civilization, and these people were far ahead. Somehow the knowledge which these people had, the civic sense which these people had, it was lost in history somewhere. Okay, so town planning was a very unique thing. Harappa and Mohenjo-daro had citadel. So I'll tell you how the town planning was. The entire city was built on a platform. Okay, this high platform was called citadel. Generally it was higher than the flood level. So just in case if there is flood in the river, because yearly floods are a natural phenomenon, you know, in rainy season the river will swell, the water will come out in the floodplain. So since all these towns, all these cities were there in the floodplains, they were made on citadel. So in case of flood, everybody used to get to the citadel and water was not able to enter the city. Okay, so largely the town was made on citadel, but then in all these urban areas, Indus Valley civilization is an urban civilization, you need to understand. Okay, so in all these urban areas, people used to move and come from outside, and as the population increased, many of the people, they were bound to settle around this citadel. So there was this main city which was there in the citadel, and in the periphery of the town, the city started growing. So they were commoners. It is believed that important people were living in the citadel, commoners were living outside the citadel, outside the boundary. However, in case of flooding, these people, they used to move inside. Okay, so it has a citadel, a strong castle, or near a city where people can shelter from danger, especially during a war. There is a possibility that it can be occupied by ruling class. So in Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, the huge halls are being made inside, which looks like castle, that probably were used by ruling class, or it was used to accommodate people, because they are empty. Okay? They don't look like a royal palace. Okay. Below the city, there is this lower town, the sideways overspill. The lower town consisting of bricks. These may be inhabited by common people. The pattern in which houses were laid was a grid or chessboard pattern. In the system, the road of the streets cut each other at the right angles, 90 degrees, and city was divided into many blocks. Okay? And this pattern was used in almost all the Indus Valley civilization cities. Again, something very unique. Right now, the planning is very haphazard. And if you want to see the haphazard planning, you please come to Bangalore. Okay? The entire traffic problem is because of haphazard growth of the city. But here, the cities were designed in such a way that the streets were made parallel and perpendicular to each other. The old Bangalore area is like this. So you have got main roads and crossroads. So these streets were made, and along the streets, houses were made. So if you want to get to some place, it is pretty easy. It is very easy to locate that place in the grid pattern. Most of the modern cities right now, they are being based on this grid pattern. For example, Chandigarh, the Greater Noida was also made on this design. The Brasilia, which is considered to be an architectural marvel, capital of Brazil, the new capital of Brazil, Brasilia. Brasilia is also made on this grid pattern. So now in the modern civilization, we are learning to make such cities, and all the cities of Indus Valley civilization were made on this pattern. How unique. Okay. Also, when we talk about the houses were not facing the street. Okay, so the door of the house was opening behind the street. So if this is a street and if this is a house, the house is not opening towards street, the gate is on the other side. So this also shows that they had a concept of privacy. Yes, people who are moving from the streets, they cannot just move and they can peek inside your house. हाँ भाई क्या कर रहे हो? नहीं, that concept is not there, which is there right now. Right now houses, they open on street. Also, if you look at the houses, when you open the gate, a wall was made in front of the gate. So when you open the gate, let's say somebody has come and opens the gate, the person cannot see what's happening inside the house. It's not like that you open the door and the sofa and everything is kept there and you are sitting in your living room and everybody who's moving, from outside the door in the gallery can just see whatever you are doing sitting there. So again, we can say that the idea of privacy was there. Again, privacy is a very, it's a new concept, a new idea, a very modern idea, and these people, they were having that. Okay, all these points that I'm telling you, you can use this in your answer in mains also, because these are the points which are very unique. Yeah, I have done a lot of study to bring this material to you. These are the points which are not given in NCERT. तो बहुत मुश्किल से ये यूनिक चीजें I have brought for you. Please, note them down. Okay. So the houses, they were not towards this side and a wall was made. So the idea of privacy was there. Okay. Then if we talk about the houses, there were some single story houses and multi-story houses also, which shows that there was some economic inequality. There were people who were earning more, who could afford a multi-story house, and there were people who were not earning that much and they had a single story houses. Mohenjo-daro was able to mobilize labor and collect tax. So it is believed that they used to collect tax. There were trading units which used to give the tax to the central government, whatever kind of government was there. And 2-room barracks were found at Harappa, which is believed that probably laborers were kept there. So in front of the granaries, the 12 granaries which are found in Harappa, in front of the granaries, we saw that there were barracks. What are barracks? So there is a line of rooms. So individual rooms are there. So it is believed that those rooms, they were used to put the laborers who were working with the grains. Okay. Then burned brick usage. The use is remarkable in the construction of building in Harappa and other cities. Burned bricks is a very unique concept. The first time it is being used in IVC. Also, the size of the brick is constant throughout the civilization. The size and weight. Why is weight important? Because right now there is a lot of fraud. Okay, so when you say that, okay, a brick should weigh 1 kg, but at some places you will find a 1 kg brick, at some places you will find that the brick is of 800 grams. So probably they have taken out some clay and it is weak. Okay, so there is a lot of fraud right now. But in Indus Valley civilization, from the western extent to the eastern extent, the size of the brick was same and the quality and the weight was same. So all the dimensions are same. It means that there was this central administration which was absolutely strict about the weights and measures of all the factories. It was designed, it was maintained, and also the level of corruption was less. Can't we say that? This is, making bricks was also an important trade. We are talking about 2500 BC. We are not having modern type of factories. So those were the factories which were earning livelihood for people. If they wanted, they could have done some corruption. So we would have found a difference across the civilization. But we don't. It means that either the administration was very strict, or in general people were not inclined towards corruption. Okay. So I would like to believe that the second point, that people were not inclined towards corruption, can be the more important point. Okay. Baked bricks were used in Mesopotamia and dried bricks were used in Egypt. That as I have told you. But burnt bricks, they were used for the first time in Indus Valley civilization. I have already told you the difference between the mud bricks, the baked bricks, and burnt bricks. The drainage system, a very unique system. Right now we go for open defecation and we don't mind, because हमको लगता है कि खुली हवा में बहुत मजा आता है, ठीक है. And you go to the villages, वहाँ पे going for excretion is a social activity. Okay, so different groups go together. It's not a private activity. It's not like you and me going to a toilet very privately, and if a phone comes, you don't pick the phone because we are sitting in a toilet, how can I pick the phone, right? But if you go to villages, it's a social activity. So friends come, right? Different age groups. They'll come, they will have a water bottle or whatever vessel in which they want to carry the water. They'll go, they'll knock one room के हाँ भाई राजेश ठीक है चल रहा है, then Rajesh will write हाँ ठीक है 5 a.m. 6 a.m. in the morning Rajesh will come out and Mukesh and Rajesh will go and they will knock the door. अरे भाई सुरेश are you coming? Then Suresh will also come out with a bottle and then he was like okay chalo. And bhai Mukesh are you coming? So Rajesh, Mukesh, Suresh, all these people, they are going together, they sit together at some distance and they talk. Okay, so they are talking. Yeah, haan bhai, what is the plan for the day? Are you coming to play cricket? No, you are not coming. And it's not like that when you are done, you are done. No, it's a social thing. When everybody is done, then they announce, हाँ भाई हो गया सबका, is everybody done? And they're like, yes, done. And then everybody gets up and they come back home. This is the trend which is followed right now. In villages, there is a huge problem of sanitation and drainage. But if you look at this civilization, IVC, we find a proper drainage system which is there in our developed cities right now. So drainage system was there to drain the water. We have already discussed about the natural drainage. There also I told you that the main reason of drainage, so that water cannot get accumulated. So all the houses, the drain goes parallel to the streets. All the houses, they are connected with the drains and every single house is having a toilet. Can you imagine the idea of sanitation? They are not going for open defecation. Every house has got a toilet and many of the houses, they have got their individual wells also inside the house and a courtyard. Okay. So almost all the cities and towns, they were having a proper drainage system. In every city, each small or big house had its own courtyard and bathroom with remarkable quality. Kalibangan, many houses had their own wells. They were digging their own wells. Water from houses flowed to the streets which had drains. So streets are also not clogged. It's not that you are walking on a street and the streets have got water there. So on both the side of the street, drainage system is there, drains are there and water is flowing through the drains, not through the streets. Okay. These drains, they are covered with stone slabs or bricks. Stone slabs or bricks, you can see that the idea of the drainage system today, we don't have open drains. Okay, still in the villages, if you will go, not only villages, second tier city or even towns, if you will go, the drainage is not closed. नालियां जा रही हैं साइड से, रोड के साइड से, and you will see whatever is floating in that nali. Everything will be visible. So even if there are drains right now, they are not closed, but here you will find that the drains are covered. So there is concept of hygiene, a proper concept of hygiene. Okay. Then remains of street and drains also we found in Banavali, ऐसे extra point है, ठीक है, it's very unique. So Harappan's attention to health and clean area probably had no match by other Bronze Age civilization. The way they were much forward than any other civilization at that point of time in terms of sanitation and cleanliness, and they are much ahead than us right now. Okay. Look at this drainage system. So the street is going, there are houses, and look at, this is the drainage system. So it's covered. Can you see the slabs which are covering them? So stone slabs, these are burned bricks. Burned bricks are covered with stone slabs, and all these houses, they are connected with this drainage. So water used to come to the drainage from these houses directly, and it used to flow towards the lower slope. So they were absolutely conscious about how the drainage is moving. Okay, it's a brilliant city planning. Whoever has done it, whoever can get the credit of this. Then the food grain production. The food grain production was very high. Remember, we were having surplus of food grains. Okay. So Harappan villages, they are situated near floodplains. Floodplains means every year the soil is going to be replenished by yearly floods. So the soil is very fertile. Usually, most of the time, all these cities, they are there on the Khadar belt. Okay. Remember Khadar and Bhangar. So they are on the Khadar belt, which is very fertile. They don't need to put a lot of fertilizer. Also, that belt is very suitable for growing all the crops. Okay, whatever you want to grow, you can grow there. So it produced sufficient food grains for themselves and for other communities like artisans, merchants, okay, and others who lived which don't produce their own food. Now the point is that before this, when we talk about the general Neolithic society, maximum kya, all the people, they were either before that in the Stone Age, they were all involved in hunting and gathering, right? Then in Chalcolithic, in Neolithic, they started growing something. then people got included. Then the main activity was to gather food, was to grow food. Either you are going for hunt or you are growing your own crops. Your complete attention is on food. But once the food gets surplus, now everybody does not have to involve in the same process. For example, present day farmers are growing food for you, but are you involved in farming? No, you're not. Now you have the liberty to choose some other trade, choose some other profession. So now you are involved in other professions because the surplus of food is there. The same thing was being done here. What is being done in the modern society, and that's why we call it urban, because people are not involved only in agriculture. People are involved in other type of trades. There are artisans. Okay, so there was surplus of food grains. They generally produced wheat and barley. Okay, that was the staple crop. Apart from that, rye, peas, sesame and mustard, they were also grown. In Lothar, the rice evidence is found. So rice was also grown. They knew about it. Also, watermelon is not written here. Watermelon was also grown. Food grains were stored in granaries that we have seen in almost all the cities. Cotton's earliest producers were Harappan. So cotton cloth was used for the first time in Harappa, and Greeks called it Sindon. Later, this time the Greeks are not there. Later, Greeks used to call it Sindon. So Sindon name came from Sindh, that these are the people of the who grows cotton. The people of the Sindh, beyond Sindh, these are the people who are growing cotton. Okay. The term Hindu is taken from Sindh. So Sindh river is there. The land which was on the eastern side of Sindh, it was called Hind. Hind. Region was called Hind. And people who were living in Hind, they were called Hindu. So Hindu term was used for a culture later by the early Afghans and Turks who came towards, who crossed the border, who crossed Khyber Pass. So when they came towards this side, for them Hindu was a culture. Everybody who's living on the eastern side of the Indus River. So people who followed Sanatan Dharma, they were called Hindu. Muslims who were living there at that point of time in India, they were also called Hindu, and Christians who were living here at the point of that time, they were also called Hindu. So Hindu was a term used for everyone who was following the same type of cultural activity, who was living on the eastern side of Indus. Okay. So initially the term which was coined, it was a very, very neutral term. So with that definition of Hindu, all of us are Hindus. Okay. But अब यही पे क्वेश्चन आता है कि when you are using it as a religion, ठीक है, as if you are using it as a culture, we all are. If you are using the term as a religion, not the Sanatan Dharma and the term Hindu, यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा this is the point where conflict came in. That if you are saying that I am Hindu, I won't really mind if you call me a Hindu, because culturally we are all same. But calling me a Hindu and assuming that being Hindu means that I am not a Muslim, that identity will not be accepted by the people. Okay? This is the main reason of conflict, but you need to get to the root of the term. So our identity, our global identity was from Sindh. Beyond east of Sindh, Sindh river, Indus river. So Indus river is extremely, extremely important for us. Why is it extremely important? That we'll discuss in the Vedic civilization, when we'll get to the Vedic civilization. Okay. Then domestication of animals. There was a large number of animals which were domesticated. For example, oxen, buffaloes, goats, sheep and pigs. All these animals, they were domesticated. The most important animal probably was a humped bull. Why do we believe that it was most important? Because in most of the seals, this humped bull has been shown. It is shown as a very powerful image. Okay. Dogs were kept as pets and cats were also domesticated. Okay. Animals for beast of burden, they were camel and ass. They were used as a beast of burden. So load was put on them and they were made to move. Okay. Horse evidences in Sarkodada. Horse remains, it is written in the books. I have written horse remains have been found in around 2000 BC. But don't read it like horse remains. It is believed that they are the remains of a horse-like animal. So if you are reading any standard book, they have not used the term horse. In fact, if you are reading Wonder That Was India by A.L. Basham, There also he has written that horse-like animal. He has not written horse. So we believe that they knew what horse is, but horse was not prevalent, because in any of the seals we haven't discovered any horse. So horse was not a common animal in India at this point of time. People were not using horse either for transport or for chariots or anything. Okay, but as an evidence, they knew, some of the people, they knew what horse was, that probably because of the trade with Mesopotamia. Okay, so if a question is asked, you need to see what exactly is are they asking. If they are saying that horses were prevalent in Indus Valley civilization, no. If they are saying that Indus Valley people, they had knowledge of horse, that they knew that something like this exists, then yes, they did have knowledge of horse. Okay, so Harappan culture was not horse centered, and there were no bones of horses in early and mature phases of Harappan culture. Harappans knew elephants and rhinoceros, because obviously they are there in the Pashupati seal. Elephant is also there, rhinoceros is also there. Similarity of Harappans with Sumerian cities of Mesopotamia, same food grain production and same animal domestication. So we see that there is a lot of similarities between the Harappans at this point of times, and the Assyrians and the Sumerians and the Mesopotamians, all this around the Tigris Euphrates river. Basically Syria and Assyrians were there in Syria, and Mesopotamians were in Iraq, that region. Differences: Harappans in Gujarat produce rice and domesticated elephant, which wasn't there in Mesopotamian cities. Rice, we don't see rice in Mesopotamia, obviously it is pretty dry, so you cannot grow rice. And also elephant was there only in India. It was a very unique thing about India. All the invaders who had come to India, they were fascinated by seeing elephant. इतना बड़ा भी जानवर होता है, what exactly is this, right? For example, when Persians came for the first time, आपका Xerxes and Darius was father of Xerxes, so Darius and Xerxes, when they came, they were surprised to see these huge animals, the elephants and rhinoceros in India. Same thing happened with Alexander when he had come to invade India. He was like, क्या है भाई ये, मतलब I'm sitting on a horse, and horse was considered to be pretty big animal, it's very high, right, amongst the other animals. If you take camel out of the equation, horses is a very high animal. Giraffe, people didn't know about giraffe because it's there in Africa, south of Africa. So these people, they hadn't gone there, they hadn't reached there till this point of time. So for them, horse was huge, right, very high. And then they saw the elephant and they were like, bhai, what exactly is this, right? So it was a unique thing about India, and we find the evidence of elephant, the domestication of elephant in Mesopotamia as well. In Indus Valley civilization as well, not in Mesopotamia. Crafts, then textile, cotton textile was produced. So cotton and wool was produced. We have got a fossilized piece of woven cotton. We have also discovered a spindle hose, which were used for spinning the cloth. Okay, and weavers, they used to make cloth of wool and cotton. There are other crafts also. For example, bricklaying, that was considered to be a very, very important craft because bricks were used across the civilization. So you have got masons, hona hi chahiye, because you are building these complex cities. Boat making, seal making, terracotta manufacturing, all these, they were extremely important crafts. Terracotta figures, terracotta tools, terracotta toys, they were all used. Goldsmiths were there. They made jewelry from gold, silver and precious stones. And gold and silver, they were obtained from Afghanistan, while precious stones, they were brought from South India at this point of time, it is believed. Bead making was also an important aspect. They used to make beads. Okay? It was taken in a thread, जैसे bead होती है ना, मतलब for praying you use those beads to rotate. So those beads were made, and they used to wear necklace of beads. They used to put them in the arms also. Pottery making was important, and potter's wheel was used to make that pottery. It was very glossy, and red and black pottery was used by the Harappan civilization. If we talk about the trade was very, very widespread. So granaries, Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Lothal, and then numerous seals and uniform script to regulate the weight and measures. Weight and measures are required for trade, okay, because you need to maintain that, okay, this is the unit of weight, this is what I am going to trade with you, this is what I am going to send you. So all these things, they suggest that there was a lot of importance of trades, of trade in the Harappan civilization. There was inland trade, where stone and metal and shell was traded. So inland trade used to happen on an ikka. You know what an ikka is? Ikka is a small bullock cart. Okay. In this bullock cart, the wheels, they were not spoked wheels. The solid wheel was used, and these were used for inland trade. For external trade, there was international trade also with Mesopotamian empire, Mesopotamian civilization, and for that ships were used. Okay. Then money system was, we can say that the concept of money was there. Cash was not used, but seals, they were also used as money. So seals, as we have discussed, that they can be an insignia of a trading guild also, they can be a symbol of a family also, but they were also traded like money. It is what is believed, probably. Most of the in internal trade was barter system, but seals were also used. They practiced navigation on the coast of Arabian Sea. Wheel, they knew about the concept of wheel and it was being used in carts, and they used a modern ikka but not spoked wheel, solid wheel was used. Trading colony, Harappans had set up a trading colony in northern Afghanistan, which facilitated the trade with Asia. So there was this trading colony, people used to go there with their with all the goods, stay there, and then from there they used to move, because it's very difficult to travel this large area across the coast. It takes a lot of time, so you need some place to rest. Okay. We know for sure that there was trade with Mesopotamia because Harappan seals, they have been found in Mesopotamia, and Mesopotamian seals have been found in Harappan sites. Earlier, the discovery of Mesopotamian civilization was earlier than Harappan civilization. So in Mesopotamian civilization, when we discovered these seals, the Harappan seals, at that point of time, the historians, the archaeologists, they were not able to place those seals with Mesopotamian civilization. That was very unique. So they were like, these unique seals are there, but we don't know from where have they come, because till that point of time, Indus Valley civilization was not discovered. Once the civilization got discovered, now the link was made very easily. The trade between the two was mostly made of lapis lazuli. Lapis lazuli is a blue colored stone, semi precious stone, which was used. In Mesopotamian text, the trading links have been shown with Meluha. So the earlier name of the contemporary name of Indus Valley civilization was Meluha in Mesopotamian side. The Indus Valley, we call it Indus Valley, or Mohenjo-daro or Harappa are the common names, modern names, which we have given them. At this point, that point of time, Mesopotamians call this, used to call this region Meluha. Amish, in his Shiva trilogy, the first book of Shiva trilogy is Immortals of Meluha. Okay, so the description that he has given in this book, in his fiction, is of Indus Valley civilization. Okay, and there were two places, intermediary places, which we find in the Mesopotamian text between Meluha and Mesopotamia. They are Dilmun and Makan. Okay, Dilmun and Makan, which are the two places between Mesopotamia and Indus Valley civilization, Meluha. Okay, so Dilmun is probably the present Bahrain, which was one stopping site, and Makan is believed to be the present Makran coast of Iran and Pakistan. So ships used to move out probably from Lothal, from India. They used to go to Makan, they used to go to Dilmun, and then they used to go to Mesopotamia. So this complete route is written in Mesopotamian text, and from there we have extrapolated it with Indus Valley civilization. Okay. Then there are multiple type of religious practices that we have seen. Numerous terracotta figurines of women have been found from Harappa. So it is believed that they believed in Mother Goddess, because for every civilization, the birth of a child has been a miracle. Okay, because a new life is being born from a person, coming out of a person. So women was respected for this a lot, right? That she is the giver of new life. Okay, and that's why we have found many terracotta figurines which we call Mother Goddess. So probably Mother Goddess was worshipped. In one of the figures, a plant is growing out of the embryo of women, representing earth as goddess. That earth is also a goddess, mother, and a plant is coming out, a life is coming out. Okay, so the goddess is connected with origin and growth of plant. Then we have figured this male deity, the unique figure, a proto Shiva, which we call proto Shiva. So a yogi is sitting in the center and surrounded by animals in the yogic pose. In Harappan civilization, male deity was represented on seal, and the male deity was having these three horned head, ठीक है, wearing a helmet with 3 horns, and he sits like a yogi on a stool, and he is in a cross-legged position, and elephant, tiger, rhinoceros and buffalo, they are surrounding it at the back, and 2 deers are close to the feet. Okay, so this we have already discussed. Then we also see the phallus worship. Phallus is the male sexual organ. So phallus worship existed in Harappan times, okay, and which was later connected with Shiva. Shivling जो बोलते हैं, that is phallus worship. Evidence of phallus worship, so numerous symbols of phallus and female sex organs have been made on stone at that point of time. And according to Rig Veda, non-Aryan people were also the worshippers of phallus. So again, the way we talk about mother goddess, phallus was also seen as life giving. Okay, the life is originating from there, and that's why in most of the civilizations across the globe, phallus was worshipped initially. Then tree worship was also there. Then other than phallus, male deity and mother goddess, they worshipped trees and animals. For example, people was the most important tree which was worshipped. Okay, people is worshipped even now. Okay. And the evidence is that a deity is represented on a seal in the midst of branches of people. So this deity is sitting in the center, and a people tree is going back. So you can look at the leaves, how they are shown. So this shows that probably people tree was sacred at that point of time too. Okay. Then we have got this bearded priest. ठीक है, काफी मीम भी बन चुका है इस पे, bearded priest पे, looks like someone. इसकी भी छाती 56 इंच की लग रही है मुझे, ठीक है. Now look at the bearded priest. So it's a we call him priest. We don't know whether this bust was of a priest or a king or a ruler at that point of time, or somebody important. But we get to know a lot about the society from this picture. First of all, if we look at the structure, then you will see that the flower print is there. He is wearing some cloth, cotton textile with flower print. So it means that plain clothes were not used, they were printed and they were beautified, prints were made. Also, if you look at the beard of this person, it is absolutely crafted. एक बाल बराबर है, मतलब very nicely shaved, and beard is proper. So it's not shabby. It means that the idea of shaving and maintaining a beard was there. People were, as far as fashion is concerned, they were aware. Yeah, it's a very valid point. Here are very nicely combed back, and he's wearing something like an amulet on his forehead and on his arm also. So bearded man was interpreted as priest. It was the interpretation of the historians. Draped in shawl, which is coming right under the right arm and covers the left shoulder. Shawl is decorated with trefoil pattern. Okay, this flower like pattern. Eyes are elongated and half closed like in meditation. Okay, matlab, again an interpretation. Nose is well formed and medium size. Mouth average size. Close cut mustache and short beard and whiskers, and hair parted in the middle, and plain woven fillet passed around the head. ठीक है, एक woven fillet है which is passing around the head with a insignia in between. So middle partition, cleanly combed hair and cleanly kept beard, and head and armlet in right hand. ठीक है, head पे और arm पे armlet is there. ठीक है, so it is one of the very nicely preserved busts of that time which we can see, and these are the things which tell us about the contemporary society a lot. As I told you that we get to know about the fashion, we get to know about the prints, how people used to live, how people used to decorate themselves. All these things we get to know, and how sophisticated the people were, right? And in different civilizations, in fact in the kings, you'll see that the beard will be long, big, shabby, mustaches growing, and that is the masculinity. But if you look at this figure, this idea of masculinity is a very present day like masculinity. No, we generally don't keep these long beards now. We are keeping beards, but it's nicely shaved, nicely kept. The same is the idea of at this point of time. Okay, so there are a lot of similarities between IVC and the present day era. Then we have got these terracotta figurines. You can see this mother goddess terracotta figurine which we have discussed about, and terracotta means clay figures. Okay, so large numbers from Harappan's settlements. We have found the figurines of animals, birds, monkeys, dogs and cattle, humped bulls, humpless bulls, male and female figurines, terracotta bullock carts, okay, looks like the bullock carts of present day time. And the quality of these terracotta figurines, we have seen that it is less than Mesopotamia. So in Mesopotamia, they were more sophisticated, more shiny and polished, and more detailed. In Indus Valley civilization, we don't find that detail as far as terracotta figurines are concerned. Okay. Then beads, you can see that these are the beads, necklaces made of these small beads which were woven with a wire, woven with in a thread also, made of agate, turquoise, carnelian, steatite. These are all different type of rocks, stones. Okay. And the workshop for the bead workshop is figured at Chanudaro, that we have already discussed that Chanudaro was a factory town, and these are the necklaces and the beads that were shown of different materials. Okay. Acha, there is one more point which I forgot to tell you. In as far as religion is concerned, these people, they used to wear amulets also. So it is shown that it is believed that probably they also believed in the spirits and the ghost. So in order to ward that off, in order to ward off the evil spirits, they used to wear those amulets. इसको तावीज़ बोलते हैं आज की डेट में. So amulets were also worn by those people. And the burial also shows that they believed in the life after death. Reasons of decline. Now historians, they are not, there is no consensus amongst the historians as far as the reason of decline is concerned. I will give you my idea also, and my idea also you can write in the answer saying that that is your idea. ठीक है, इतना तो चीटिंग चलता है, ठीक है. But once you qualify and get the rank, you give me थोड़ा सा credit for that. So amount of rainfall. So in 3000 BC, amount of rainfall in Indus region increased and then decreased, affecting the agriculture, okay, and stock breeding. Then decreasing fertility, expansion of desert increased the salinity, which further decreased the fertility of the soil. Sudden subsidence and uplift of land, which caused floods at that point of time. Earthquakes caused changes in the course of Indus, causing inundation in Mohenjo-daro hinterland. So river changed its direction, it passed through Mohenjo-daro and probably destroyed Mohenjo-daro. This is something which is shown in the movie Mohenjo-daro. And if you want to ruin your image of Indus Valley civilization, and if you want to learn something really wrong, watch the movie Mohenjo-daro, Hrithik Roshan wali movie. And if you have seen Jodha Akbar, ऐसा लगता है अकबर उठ के मोहनजोदाड़ो में पहुंच गया. And the movie is bad, okay, as far as technicality is concerned. I couldn't tolerate it because I like history, so I thought that probably I'll watch the movie. So I watched the movie, but then I couldn't tolerate it after the interval. I was like, नहीं, अब बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया है, ठीक है, एकदम ना काबिले बर्दाश्त, कंट्रोल ही नहीं हुआ. So I couldn't complete it anyway. But if you take this thing out, if you take history out of your mind and watch that Mohenjo-daro movie, then it's pretty good, pretty nice. Okay. Decline due to foreign invasion. According to this view, Vedic Aryans destroyed the Harappan civilization. So they came from Persia, the Vedic Aryans. Aryans came, they brought in horses and they were more powerful and they destroyed. The point is that all these points, all these discussions, they are incomplete. How come are they incomplete? First of all, when we talk about a foreign invasion, the arrival of Aryans, Indus Valley civilization, it extends from 2500 BC to 1500 BC. And the arrival of Aryans, is 1700 BC. Arrival of Aryans is around 1500 BC. So there is a gap of 200 years between the decline of IVC and arrival of Vedic Aryans, 200 years. Now in history, 200 years is not that big a timeline, but for human civilization, human life, 200 years are very significant. So if there is a gap of 200 years, how can Aryans come and destroy them? The timeline doesn't match, okay. So this point has got a question mark. Also, if we talk about the people who propagate this idea, they say that Harappans, they were peace-loving people. We haven't found many weapons there. This is very true. The number of weapons that we have discovered in Harappa, they are very less. So we can say that probably they were not into warfare. They were not the warrior clans who were going out to fight or to look for a fight. They were having very good relations with Mesopotamia. So till then, in the middle, there was no other civilization. Also, if you are involved in warfare, always remember this, if you are constantly involved in warfare, your money, your efforts are going in that direction. That civilization will never have time to settle down, think about art, think about civic administration and all that. But if you look at IVC, the place looks very peaceful, right? You don't find forts, you don't find palaces. So it is believed, you can interpret it yourself, that these people, they did not have any fear of anything. Because if they were having this fear that somebody can attack them, they could have created huge walls. They could have created those large structures, but they did not. It means that they did not believe that somebody is going to come and attack them. So that idea of warfare is not there. Also, in case of a massacre, if people are dying on a large scale, you will find fossils, you will find bodies, you will find skeletons, you will find skulls. That has also not been found. Okay. So there is one more idea of epidemic. Probably there was an epidemic and people died. In case of epidemic also, you would have found the evidence because you would have seen the burial. We haven't found burial of such a large scale where we can see that there were mass deaths. So the idea of mass death is also not there. So if we look at all these things, my personal opinion is that there was climate change. Okay. So all these ideas, that amount of rainfall decrease in fertility, all these things, they can be clubbed together. Because if you are saying that Indus changed its course, it's not like that from top of Pakistan to the bottom, Indus has changed its course from Himalayas to Karachi. Can you say that Indus has changed its course? No. Because even if the river is changing its course, it will be at some portion. And does that mean that the entire civilization from Sukta Gendor, the westernmost point, to UP, western UP, easternmost point, it will be destroyed because a river has changed its course? No. Probably it can destroy one city, but it cannot destroy a civilization. In order for this civilization to be destroyed, there has to be something which is impacting the entire area. And that can be nothing but the climate change, the change in climate, the change in rainfall pattern. And that's why the entire civilization had to shift somehow to some other place. Okay. And then got established. So it is also believed that the modern Dravidians were the actual people of Indus Valley civilization. They were pushed towards the east and they had to cross the Vindhyas, and then they got settled in the southern part of India, technically, and in the northern part was taken over. Whoever was left, that was pushed by the Aryans, by the arrival of Aryans, and they established their rule in northern India, above the Vindhyas. So there is a connection between Aryans and IVC, yes, definitely, but saying that Aryans came and then they destroyed everything, that cannot be the entire story. Okay. So if a question is asked, this question will not be asked in prelims. If it is asked in prelims, then same type of question will be asked, that it is believed that this has happened, this has happened, this has happened. So all these beliefs are there, you can mark all of them, all of the above, until unless something is absolutely drastic and out of the box. Apart from that, there is very less probability that this type of question based on interpretation will be asked. If this question is asked in mains, where it can be asked, then you can put all these ideas and then say that probably there was this climate change because of which the agricultural pattern was changed and then people had to move. And this is something which is not unique to IVC. The change of climate and a drought condition which forced the civilizations to be destroyed, it is not just seen in IVC, it is seen in all the civilizations. For example, Assyrians, they had to leave their place and they had to move towards east because of the drought condition. So there also entire civilization got destroyed because of the climate change. So you can create these parallels, okay, and this comparison will be the right comparison there. So I hope that you have understood everything about Indus Valley civilization. I have tried to discuss all the facts with you. I have tried not to miss anything. So if you have found those unique points, please add up in your notes. There is no need to write the entire thing because anyway you will be getting these slides. So all the information you will be getting, but all the important points which I have said, that okay, focus here. Whenever I am saying that focus on this point, this is something you need. You must focus and you must underline, because you will get a direct question from there. ठीक है, in UPSC in as far as history is concerned, UPSC is asking very unique and very twisted questions. So it's not possible that you will know all the facts. It's not humanly possible. But this should not happen that there are things which we have discussed and they are there in the exam and those also you are not able to answer. That will be sin. वो भाई पाप है, घंघोर पाप है, ठीक है, उसकी उस सजा की माफी नहीं मिलेगी. So at least whatever we are discussing, those questions you must mark correctly. Okay, चलिए. Let's move forward. The next part in this chapter is our Vedic civilization. So we'll be talking about the Rig Vedic civilization.